Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Still Breakfast Daily.
Yep. And now we're going to talk a bit about fintech and innovation. And it's all about the eCedi Hackathon by the Bank of Ghana. What is the eCedi Hackathon? Why is the Bank of Ghana embarking a hackathon right now? And joining us in the studio is Kwame Opong, Director, Fintech and Innovation Office at the Bank of Ghana.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Great, wonderful. So, very first question, what's the eCedi and then what's a hackathon? I mean, some months back we started hearing about the eCedi from the Bank of Ghana, and we want to know exactly what that is because I believe a lot of people may not know. And then secondly, what's a hackathon? And then thirdly, so you just be running with your answers.
Yeah, why
are we marrying the two?
Okay. Thank you very much and good morning to your viewers. So eCedi is a digital version of the Ghanaian cedi. And in fact, we've been working on it for the past, since 2019 actually, that the governor announced it at the Monetary Policy Committee press briefing. And to put it simply, you can imagine currency today as you know it is in physical form, in notes and in coins. What we are looking to do is introduce, potentially in future, a digital version of the currency. Now, for many of even the digital financial services that you use today, for instance, mobile money, it starts from cash going into a wallet.
Right.
And that cash typically comes with a lot of inefficiencies, some of which you don't see, but the cost ultimately comes back to you. And so we want to find a way of introducing a more effective and efficient mechanism with which you can leverage in your financial transactions. And so the majority of central banks around the world today are exploring central bank digital currencies. So you've heard of the e-Naira, the US is looking at a digital dollar, the Europeans are looking at a digital euro. And so it is not actually unusual. It's a very important step that everyone has to start looking into. Ghana is fortunate to have been at the forefront of this exploration. We just concluded a pilot last year. And in that pilot, we tested the eCedi in digital transactions utilized by banks, mobile money player, and fintechs. And we also tried it in an offline setting, which is even more groundbreaking because we had the opportunity to fully and successfully test the use of a digital currency in an environment where there's little to no data or network connectivity. So that means we can actually bring people into the formal financial sector as well, should we be able to implement this in future. So that brings us to today, because one of the decisions that we made through this process is to position the eCedi as an enabler of the ecosystem. That means rather than go out there to try to provide the services as Bank of Ghana, we believe that the financial sector is good at doing their job with managing customers and providing services to them. And so by going the route we are right now, which is extending the services through commercial banks, fintechs, mobile money operators, and everyone in the financial sector, we actually get a better outcome. So having tested it and seeing whether it works or not, now we're at a point where we want to be able to give the general population an opportunity and all the creative minds out there, from technology developers to financial analysts and financial specialists to economists to accountants, lawyers, and everyone else who has an interest in this space to get their hands on the platform that we've created in a virtual environment securely to develop products and services that consumers would use. So it's really an opportunity to extend that eCedi's capabilities beyond what we envisage, because service providers know their customers best, innovators know what the next wave of innovation would look like, so we want to empower them to also help us co-create the future of currency.
All right. So, I mean, that's very interesting and very brilliant. And I think it's a great way of involving the populace, the experts within our society in what the Bank of Ghana is doing, right? So my next question is, first, you've mentioned certain areas, certain industries, certain areas of expertise that you're exploring with this hackathon, right?
Right.
But how can people apply? What kinds of people should apply? Should it be somebody who is more on the consumer end of things, or someone who is, say, an app developer, fintech app developer? You know, when you hear hackathon, you start thinking tech for lots of people. What kinds of people are we looking at, really?
So To be honest, you're always going to find some tech-inclined people in the mix because you still have to develop a product.
Definitely.
But what you also observe is we've actually made it a bit more flexible.
Okay.
So an individual who's a developer can actually participate, or you can form teams. And often in these teams, you'd find both tech and non-tech people. Because when we look at the use cases we're considering, one of the biggest challenges that we have in this country, and frankly in sub-Saharan Africa, is merchant payments and paying small businesses. So often that's where you're seeing most of the cash transactions. And so we want to be able to give the opportunity for people to, for instance, create products on the eCedi that simplifies and make it more appealing for usage, more efficient and more user-friendly. And so teams of people can actually participate, and that could include marketing people, accounting people, lawyers, anyone else, based on their own background and vision for it.
Okay.
The process is also very simple to register. You can go on the Bank of Ghana website and you go to the fintech section of the website, and on that section you can look for the eCedi Hackathon section. Just log on there, fill in the forms, and you hear from us. We'll respond to all the applicants, and they'll submit a concept note as well, an innovation concept note. So in that note, you'll explain to us what exactly you're trying to solve, what problem you're trying to solve, your hypothesis, and perhaps how you intend solving it. And through that process, we'll give you some additional support and handholding till you're successfully through the process.
Yeah, but is it limited to Ghanaians? And how long would this whole hackathon take?
Yes, so it's going to be a 12-week process, which we've already kick-started. So this, as we're going forth, in fact, the deadline has been moved from today to Monday.
Okay.
We had some overwhelming requests and responses, so we want to be able to give enough of an opportunity for people to submit. And the other thing I should mention is we also seen that there's a lot of interest from non-Ghanaians. Unfortunately, we're initially looking at Ghanaians because this has to be a local, homegrown solution.
Yeah.
But on the other hand as well, we recognize the fact that there's some skill sets and talents that may be benefited from if we allow some foreigners. So what we're asking is, if you're a foreigner and want to participate, feel free to join any Ghanaian team, a teammate of Ghanaians to participate, and we're fine with that.
Okay, so just to be clear, how are we defining Ghanaian? Because we've got dual citizens, we've got people who may be living in Ghana of Ghanaian heritage but don't necessarily carry Ghanaian citizenship. How are we defining Ghanaian, just so that we're clear?
Okay, so I think for our purposes, we're a bit more lenient. From a Ghanaian perspective, who we know as Ghanaian, both legal but also reasonably speaking,
Yes.
someone who meets that threshold is fine with us, not a complete foreigner.
All right.
So what access will these participants, have? Like what technology would they have access to?
Okay, so we're actually going to give them access to the eCedi platform. This is, by the way, I should mention, is in a controlled environment.
Okay.
So it's not exposed to the real world. And so they'll be in there, they'll get access to the APIs, they'll get access to all the key platforms, and also the user guides to understand how these tools work, because digital currencies, especially central bank digital currencies, are not a very common infrastructure that everyone has access to. And so this is going to be a really, thrilling experience for those who participate. Also, I should add that through the process, they'll get a chance to be mentored.
Okay.
They'll get some guidance, and some of these mentors are coming from MEST. Some are also coming from the corporate world. Some of these are either investors or people with various backgrounds who can really help guide the teams and the individuals who will apply and go through this process.
Okay, so it's even a win-win because whoever participates also gets to maybe learn something that they probably wouldn't have learned if they hadn't participated in the hackathon in the first place.
Absolutely, you got that right.
Get exposed to people who they ordinarily may not have met.
Precisely, and there's a lot, typically what happens is people who go through this process not just learn new things through the process, they also make new contacts and build relationships that carry on throughout. And it is conceivable that the people who participate in this will ultimately have a bit of a head start should an eCedi be introduced, because they would have the ability to understand and know how they can implement solutions and products for consumers someday and businesses.
Right.
So for someone,
yeah.
sorry, Chris, so for someone who wants to apply, where can, maybe they're listening, they're watching, they think I can do this, but they may not necessarily know a lot about the eCedi. Where do they go to read about it so they can prepare their concept notes and whatnot?
Okay, so you can go online and you can just search eCedi white paper on Google, and it will pop up, or you can come to the
eCedi white paper.
White paper, yes, from Bank of Ghana.
Oh.
And you can also go to the Bank of Ghana website, and you can search for it, and we have a white paper on there that gives a lot of information. And those who will actually be qualified through this process will get a deeper briefing into the back-end mechanics of how the eCedi works.
And the winners of the hackathon?
There will be some very interesting prizes for them between our partners and us,
Okay.
both cash and non-cash prizes. But for us, the big thing is that the opportunity that they get to really build what the future of currency and its usage looks like is one of the most rewarding feelings that I think they would have, and
Right.
also the experience that they build through this.
Right.
All right, I think that's brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. And congratulations, the team at the Bank of Ghana and you, I mean, Director of FinTech and Innovation, FinTech and Innovation Office. It's interesting, it's nice to see that while the rest of the world is moving in a certain direction, Ghana is also in the thick of things, also doing our bits to keep up with global trends. It's amazing.
Well, thank you, absolutely. And we work with an incredible team who really brought these things this far. They worked really hard to get it thus far, both the eCedi and the eCedi Hackathon team. And so we look forward to making this a success as well.